Hi, everybody. Jon Sozek here, director of the Arts and Humanities Collaborative, and I'm here today with Alberta's student, Tessa Schober. Hello, Tess.
Hi.
Hello. Tess has recently exhibited one of her artworks, a painting entitled Lilith, in a gallery at Rockefeller Center in New York City. And Tess, I just want to learn about this experience. Maybe you can begin by telling us a bit about the painting that you exhibited.
Well, actually, I forgot to tell you, I exhibited three paintings.
Oh my goodness, how exciting!
Yes, three paintings. But Lilith is the one that I will talk about today because all three are similarly tied together. But Lilith is my baby, my pride and joy, the one that
Perfect.
sold, the one that
Perfect.
um, I spent the most time on, the one that is my magnum opus, as many people say. So
Wonderful.
Lilith is based on old Hebrew traditions. I came across this story just in passing. Um, as you grow up and as you read literature and as you dive into different kind of historical texts and you learn about history, you also hear stories just in passing about different things like Lilith, um, Pope Joan,
Mhm.
um, Susanna. These are all biblical figures that I've heard
Mhm.
about, but
Mhm.
for me, Lilith was the one who struck out the most because of her story, her feminist kind of
Mhm.
connection to the feminist uh, wave,
Yeah.
and I just really enjoyed learning about her and how much she inspired me and how much she inspired countless women in ancient times to now. So Lilith is taken from Old Hebrew tradition that
Mhm.
she was actually the first wife of Adam. So we all
Mhm.
know Adam and Eve. However, there was Adam and Lilith. And
Mhm.
the story goes that Lilith did not want to submit to Adam and lay with him.
Mhm.
And so God became very angry and cast her
Mhm.
down to hell, where she became mother of demons. And
Mhm.
she is seated right hand of Lucifer.
Mhm.
So I I'm not one to enjoy reading about dark, scary stories. I'm not a horror kind of fanatic,
Right.
but I did enjoy the idea that Lilith was this powerful woman who did not want to submit to a
Mhm.
man, and she was
Mhm.
punished by that. And many times we see this story of women not wanting to submit to men, and they are
Mhm.
punished for it.
Mhm.
So I was very inspired by that
Mhm.
kind of story, and I created this piece where this woman is emancipated, has just arrived to hell, has been dropped down onto her knees, is struggling to pick herself back up. She is frail. She has sharp edges. She is painted in black and white and all these horrible dark colors,
Mhm.
and she is she has all these edges to her. She's very sharp. You don't want to touch her. Whereas in art, women are pictured as voluminous and voluptuous and
Mhm.
beautiful and soft, and they're still very delicate. But Lilith in my painting has a very delicate roughness to her. And I
Yes.
think that really resonated with a lot of the women who came in and saw my piece
Oh,
because women are very delicate, but there's this very delicate power to them.
right. And we'll put an image of that painting up on the screen so the viewers can see it. Is this painting typical of your style, Tess, or was it what role did this painting have kind of in your painting practice?
So Lilith was actually, I think, the starting point for my practice. Lilith is very special to me in the sense that it was the first jumping point for all the women that I painted afterwards. I
Mhm.
paint a lot of women. I think
Mhm.
my parents, to my parents' dismay, there's a lot of naked women in my house because I paint a lot of nude women, because I feel that women's bodies are so much fun to paint, personally, because as a woman myself, I know the body very intimately, but women's bodies are often sexualized and sinful and seen as something bad. So I want to paint women in this beautiful light where they're angels or they're saints. And you see a lot of women who, you see a lot of women where they're pictured nude, but they're painted by men. Men have this sexual kind of like, they put all their fantasies into painting these women. So as a woman myself, I don't put my fantasies into painting these women. I paint them from a very neutral standpoint, and I paint them in appreciation for the body and for the just the beauty of it. I consider myself a painter of the classics, someone who, I grew up going to the Met, and my favorite exhibit is always ancient Rome and ancient Greece, because the ancient Romans and the ancient Grecians, they painted the body with a very idealized but very neutral standpoint. They weren't sexualizing women. In fact, women weren't sexualized back in ancient Rome and ancient Greece. So I always felt that if I were going to paint women, I should paint them from a neutral and appreciative standpoint. So that's why I painted Lilith the way that I did. Not sexualizing her, just in appreciation of her and her power.
Thank you very much. No, that's a great insight into the work. Now, you exhibited this in New York City at a gallery near Rockefeller Center, in Rockefeller Center, I understand. I mean, tell us a bit about this gallery.
So the gallery is Beka Museum. It's a Georgian gallery. So
The country, Georgia.
The country,
right?
the country,
Yeah.
Georgia. So it's not associated with the state Georgia. Some people are like, Georgia,
Right,
that's a
yeah.
little weird,
The
but
specific, yeah, right,
a little
right.
specific. But the country Georgia is a former USSR country, and a lot of the collectors, a lot of the people who visited this gallery are actually people who are very sympathetic to the Ukrainian war and the Ukrainian cause and the Ukrainian fight for freedom. And as someone who is very political, and my art is very political, and my art is very much in practice about giving a voice to the voiceless, I was honored to exhibit Lilith in this setting, especially on the 27th floor of the Atlas building, where I'll just tell you a little bit about the space.
Yeah.
The 27th floor is this beautiful wide open space where they had large glass windows, and right there you see St. Pat's. And so it was very, very ironic that you have Lilith right across from St. Pat's,
St.
looking across
Patrick's,
from each
St.
other.
Patrick's Cathedral there on
Yes,
Fifth
St.
Avenue, right?
Patrick's. Yes, St.
Oh
Patrick's
my goodness.
Cathedral.
My goodness.
And with the
And
rose bushes, I have a picture because St. Patrick's has rose bushes out
yes,
front now, uh, in the gateway. So
yes.
it's a beautiful sight. It was picture perfect.
And what was the connection, on your understanding, between the painting of Lilith and the Ukrainian cause? Did you associate those two?
Yes, everyone who came in uh, to that gallery loved Lilith because they saw that, you know, the Ukrainian cause, Ukraine is a small country, and against Russia, Russia has this big firepower, this big kind of oppressive nature. And Ukraine is like this underdog, and it's inspiring to see them fight back, and it's amazing. They are like Lilith. They've been pretty much, they are cast out, and now they're struggling. Well, they're not struggling, but they are coming back up, and they're using their power to push themselves back up and take that power back. And I think people saw that connection between Ukraine and Lilith, and seeing that, Ukraine has been this kind of opus or apex for change in the world. And I think Lilith was this apex for change in women. So I think there's very much a lot of connection between them.
That's wonderful. How was your experience at the gallery? We've talked about the view from St. Patrick's. I mean, 27th floor of the Atlas building. That's a remarkable location. Did many people come to the opening of the exhibition, or tell us a bit more about your experience there?
Well, the gallery was fantastic. It was very welcoming. I mean, I, as Tess Schober, as one collector said, "You have a great name for art." I was very touched by
That's
the
good.
fact that people loved my work, and I think the one thing that stuck with me was that the gallerist, Shota Bagaturia, he runs the gallery. He said to me, "We collect art that will have a historical impact, and we believe that you will have a historical impact." And that stuck with me, and it it makes me it makes me feel more confident and more assured in myself that I am doing the right thing, that I am creating art. And you know, I I want to make art for to give voice to the voiceless. Most of my art is centered around women, but as I look towards more history, like Lilith was completely erased from history. It wasn't until the feminist wave, the second feminist wave, that Lilith started to kind of, her story started to be told. Same with Artemisia Gentileschi, the painter of Judith and slaying Holofernes. Her story wasn't told until women started to look back in history. And so, as a woman, I feel as though it is my duty to go back in history, find those voiceless women, and paint them huge, paint them big, paint them where in bright colors or dark colors, whatever the medium calls for, whatever speaks to me, paint them as big as I can to make people see that women have a place in art, and women deserve all the canvas that is in the world.
Quite so. Yeah, and I've seen several of your works, and they're really large format. They're stunning in their presentation. It
Yeah.
really occupies the space. So Tess, what's next for you? What's next for Tess Schober as a painter? Do you have any figures you've mentioned that you'd like to kind of work through the canon, or the anti-canon, as the case may be? Who are you thinking of?
Well, I was confirmed under the name Saint Quiteria, and
Oh, right.
I I chose it in eighth grade because I looked up on Google top 10 badass saints, and she was like number one.
What is she the patroness of? Do you know?
Um, she, I know her story very well. So
Mm,
she was a Roman, or she was Jewish, and she had 10 sisters, and she fought the Romans in a guerrilla war style. Like, she just fought the Romans in Spain
mm-hmm.
at some random moment, and she was beheaded and carried her head to a church where she died. So I'm thinking
That's a
of
story.
creating, it's quite the
Ah,
story. So I'm thinking of creating a large vertical painting. You know those candles that you see in the grocery store? I'm thinking of
yes.
creating like a giant candle, Saint Quiteria,
Oh.
with with her her head in her hands, and
Oh.
I would love to do that. Or
Oh, that
even
would be
Pope Joan.
fabulous.
I
Oh,
would love to
right.
do
Yeah,
Pope
Pope
Joan.
Joan. Pope
That would
Joan
be a
as
fun
well.
one.
Oh, my goodness. Well, Tessa Schober, thank you so very much for sharing about your painting Lilith and your exhibition in New York, and good luck as you continue your practice.
Thank you.